All set. Crush out! Zombie! Ready! Fight!
Hello YouTube, this is Shirley426, and today we have the review of the premium Bandai exclusive, or P-Bandai exclusive, SHF Kamen Rider Buffa in its zombie form. Now this rider is from the latest Kamen Rider Geats series. Now we are in roughly around like 70% or 60%-ish done from the for the show, as far as I can tell. So this is kind of coming out late these days. So most riders these days, other than the main character, the other rider seems to be coming out very late. But once again, Kamen Rider Geats definitely feeling a much slower in terms of releases, considering that there are multiple upgrade forms as well. But once again, the Kamen Rider Geats SHF Kamen Rider line has a tremendous upgrade compared to the previous series or lines, and I will be showing you guys that aspect in this review as well. Anyway, let's see what we got. So right off the bat, let's talk about the rider. So the rider, Kamen Rider Buffa, it's using the zombie buckle, meaning that they all have this base entry form where they're pretty much only wearing a black suit with their own unique helmets, and then they basically get their other forms or powered up forms or upgrade forms using these buckles that they attach to the belt. So this one is currently using the zombie form, which is his main go-to buckle. Now, right off the bat, he may look like an enemy or like a villain. Yes and no, depending on how you look at it. So I'm not gonna spoil too much, but yeah. So he may look very intimidating or menacing, but which he is. He's a very powerful close combat type rider, and in the series he has defeated a lot of other riders as well. Anyway, so let's see what we get. So right off the bat, so once you open from the box, you get the rider itself, and in terms of accessories, there's not much, because this is basically his base form other than the entry form. So this is not exactly like a power-up form. It's more like a a different type of combat type form when you look at it. So once again, we get his main weapon, which is the zombie breaker, which may look like a sword, but it's technically a, yes, you guessed it, it is a chainsaw. And in the series, this guy uses this very well, and other characters use this chainsaw very well and creative. So actually, you can actually see in the series where if he pulls down the trigger, the chain actually rotates like a real one. So that's very cool. And then you can also pull this upwards and then downwards. So this is basically using his zombie breaker finisher attack. So basically, it's always like this. You pull it up, it basically charges up, and if you pull it down, he can now proceed with his finisher move with this weapon. And it's a pretty cool weapon. It's very devastating, and it's used various ways in the show as well. Now, as you may have noticed, his left arm has a claw on his left hand. So they considered that, and so hand-wise, you only get hands for the right hand. So currently I am using the fist hand, but other than that, we get 4 hands. So you get 5 hands in total for the right hand. So we get a open style hand, we get a different open style hand, and then we get a trigger finger holding hand, but this is technically meant for holding the weapon. And then here we have a fully open hand. Now out of the box, the rider should be using this one. I just swapped out to a more natural fist looking hands, because the fully open hands, depending on how you look at it, it is slightly awkward to look at time to time. And then other than that, you get these things. Now these things aren't exactly relevant to the rider itself, well, depending on how you look at it. So let's talk about the bottom one. Now the bottom one, this one is only relevant if you buy or have a certain figure. So one of those 2 figures is basically, number 1, the entry form figure. So so Kamen Rider Geats entry base form, you need to have this, or at least, depending on how you look at it, you may require this. So this one. So this is the Kamen Rider Geats Magnum Boost form. So you have to own either one of these 2 figures to actually use those parts. Now this is basically the thing I was talking about of this specific line of figures, is that up until this point, until these guys released, is that every Kamen Rider figure out there, they always had like a blank form, or they had alternate forms. and you can't. And Bandai really never, number one, they never really released any alternative forms. I'm not talking about upgrade forms. If they have a form that's meant for close combat, then they have a form that's meant for long range combat. There's multiple forms for each riders, and they never really release those, and if they do, it's released as a separate figure. But in the series, they also make various combinations using those forms as well. But it was never, but with the figures itself, they were never interchangeable. They were never compatible with each other. But now they actually made the whole thing compatible here. So, like for example, this guy is using two buckles. So he has the one for the top, which is the Magnum, and then on the bottom on the legs is a boost form. Now we can actually swap these parts with another rider here. So this only applies to this current the current series riders, but once again, it is a very fun aspect and cool aspect as well. So if you want to have this guy's form applied onto Kamen Rider Geats form, this is what you need. So you need to have a different color of the eyes, slightly more orange, and then you also need have the mouthpiece as well. So I'll be showing you this demonstration later. And once again, because we have a blank form figure out there, so if you want to have this guy in its blank form, or if you want to have his blank form for taking pictures, and if you happen to have the Kamen Rider Geats entry race form, then this is the part that you use. So in the entry or the base form basically, or kind of like the naked form, is when these guys are not using any buckles. So they have a black armor, and then their eye colors are all like this grayish neutral colors, with their mouthpiece being a blank as well. So this is the one that you use. Once again, I'll try to demonstrate it if possible. Alright, so now let's see what we get from the figure. So let me get off the stand, let's see what we got. So after getting this figure, I didn't really have any plans to get more, but once again, this figure kind of blew my mind. I really love the form and design, which I have decided to, on my next paycheck, I'm actually gonna pre-order Kamen Rider Punk Jack. Now Punk Jack, his design may not be the favorable, but once again, I do like the character. Alright, so let's see what we got. So as the name applies, Kamen Rider Buffa, his motive or his design base animal is a buffalo. So yeah, so let's see the head. The head definitely menacing looking. He definitely looks like the typical evil villain guy in any Sentai series. But yeah, that's just the way how it is. But yeah, so definitely loving the overall scar looking eyes, and then the horns very pointy. These are plastic. I don't think there are any metal, so be careful with them. The only part I don't like about the design here is the back section where they has these hair looking aspects. I'm not the biggest fan of hair like style. Like even in Mecha, if it has like a hair looking thing, I'm not really the biggest fan. But either way, head can go up and down very well, and then side to side is possible. Now 360, I think it is technically possible if you force it, but once again, human inside, no need to go 360. And then there is the metal neck joint, so you do have the forward and backward movement like that. Alright, and then once again, you can the way how this works is that you can actually take the whole mask and sorry about that. You can take the whole mask and mouthpiece off to apply the other stuff. So yeah. All right. So now looking at the arms, let's look at the left arm first. So they each have the exact same shoulder armor, so no big deal. And the good thing is that the shoulder armor is attached to the arm, not to the main body. So there were actually Kamen Rider figures where the shoulder armor was attached or connected to the main body. The biggest problem with that is that you can't, if that is the case, you can't rotate the arm. But now I think they realized that was not the best idea, so they now are mostly applying onto, you know, the main shoulder or slash arm. So, but then again, I guess it depends on the rider original design itself. But yeah, but thanks to that, we can go 360, and then the shoulder arms armor, yeah, they're on the typical ball joint connection with a few joints here, so you do have some control on to relocating them as well. And then the arm itself, you can go 360 here, no problem. And then bend wise, this side of the arm does not bend too much, like less than 90 degrees. It's mostly because of this all design going on here. So because if he does in this form, when he applies to use his finisher attack using the buckle, I believe it charges up his claw arm, and he's able to do various attacks like slash attacks or like, you know, piercing attacks and yada yada. So yeah. but I do like the overall design style here, like these clear pieces with liquid fluids going on here as well. And the hand is still your typical SHF style hand, which is, you know, the ball joint is connected to the arm and the hold is in the hand. Now you can technically separate this, but there is no alternative hand for this, so I'm just you're pretty much gonna leave this in this form as well. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the pinky. All right, so that's that. And then looking at the other arm, once again, same articulation here, a little bit stiff, but still bend wise, it's almost the same, but a little bit more, so almost 90 degrees, but yeah, it's slightly limited, but that's mostly because of the armor design here, so oh well. And then hands are your typical SHF style hands. Alright, and then body wise, you do get the forehead chest ab crunch going on here. Side to side is also possible. Now 360 not possible because human inside as well. And then let's get the buckle here. We get the desired driver, and then we have the zombie buckle. Definitely loving the style here. Now technically in the show it would slide, you would slide it in, but in this case the figure is basically, there's a peg here on the back, and then you just plug it into the belt right away. So that's the way how it works. And then the ID core definitely looks pretty good. I mean, on my camera it's not really showing the full shape here because of the focus issue, but once again in person it has been done very well. And once again, you can rotate it 360 if you want to do so, but once again, this is only applicable for if you have a different type of figure and other certain parts. So yeah. And I almost forgot, on the side of the belt you have these parts here which have slots. These are meant for holding the weapon. Now not many been shown in the series, but there has been reference and there has been other weapons being stored like this, so it is technically possible. And yeah, depending on how you look at it, some people may really like this aspect. So yeah, let me just take this off. Oh, and that's how these are connected. There's also another peg to the belt, so that's that. Now looking at the legs here, these are, I believe should be the exact same legs as the entry race form, which keep in mind I haven't really reviewed the entry race form. My plan is to review that after getting another figure, so keep that in mind. So anyway, the legs are pretty basic. These are like the black armor I was talking about when it's not using any buckles. So once again, sizable, pretty good. Going forward, 90 degrees, no problem as well. Backwards, also no problem as well. And going to side, 90 degrees, no big deal. And then bend wise, very well done. And then feet wise, you get a very nice pivot joint, forward and backward, no problem, and toe bend is possible. Now compared to the other riders, this guy, even in their naked form or their base form, most riders have like a small trait of their own. So for example, like Kamen Rider Geats has that scarf on his back. For Buffa, he has this half like torn down like cloth on his side of the leg. So yeah, I'm not sure how exactly these things are connected. I've never really detached these ever before, but yeah, I mean, they feel fragile, but they never been torn off. But of course, because of this, the other side of the leg might be a little bit limited in terms of articulation. All right, so I guess there's only a few things left to show. So once again, I'll be right back with this first demonstration. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, I'm back. So once again, here is a simple demonstration on using the weapon. Once again, once you have the trigger finger hand attached to the arm, you should have zero problems holding the zombie breaker or chainsaw sword as well. And once again, I just figured out, apparently my fingers were just a little bit stiff, but each finger is actually slightly articulated to the hand. There is a small ball joint connected there, so they might actually move a little bit depending on how you look at it. So once again, from here, the other demonstrations are going to be tricky, so I'm going to be using these three combinations here. So once again, I think the first thing I'll show you guys is his blank form or his entry form using this figure. So I'm going to be swapping a few parts and then using one of those head eye pieces as well. And then I'll be giving Kamen Rider Geats the zombie form as well. So once again, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the final demonstration here. I say final, but technically there are so much combinations you could technically do, so it's really up to your preferences and your imagination at this point. But still, I just wanted to show the biggest example regarding this figure itself, and then also the whole potential that this lineup has. So number one, with the base entry form, you can now actually have the naked Kamen Rider Buffa form in this black armor. This is the black armor I was talking about. It's basically the base, armor that he's wearing, but without any extra, parts like those. So yeah, this is really very basic. The only way you can get access is number one, to own Kamen Rider Buffa zombie form, and number two, is to own the entry base form figure. So yeah, so what you do is basically you actually have to, number one, swap out the entire head, and then number two is to take out the unnecessary. You have to change out the eye parts and the mouthpiece. So you can see, you've noticed that the eye colors is now gray rather than orange, and then there's no mouthpiece going on here. So that's one thing, you have to swap out that part. In this form, yeah, there's not much to do. There's no weapons in this form, but it's a very nice way to take pictures. The only thing I actually wish is that with these buckles, I do wish they they also would have given either number one, a closed up version, and a dedicated hand to hold these, because they hold these in a very specific way before attached to the belt. So, but that's just a small complaint. But once again, I am having so much fun with this lineup as well. And number two, with Kamen Rider Geats, once again, I have been able to swap out the top section here. And you can see I'm still using the boost legs, but once again, if I wanted to, I can always take off the boost buckle and then replace this with these legs as well, because they are exactly the same legs. And yeah. But yeah, and keep in mind, if you're using Kamen Rider Geats as base, you also need to attach the scarf and this white piece on the back here as well. So once again, the whole interchangeable aspect in the SHF Kamen Rider figure line is a very good step up. Because so far the only aspect that wasn't even similar to this was either like a Soto figure, which is one of those candy toys, which is not exactly the best quality, and number two would be like there is also another dedicated toy line for each Kamen Rider series. I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but each Kamen Rider series does have like a toy line that's like an action figure, and you can swap parts here and there. But once again, those are more based on toys, so the proportions are slightly off. But once again, I'm not even sure if they still have that. But yeah. But anyway, that was pretty much it for the review. So this was the review of the P-Bandai exclusive SHF Kamen Rider Buffa zombie form. Once again, there are so much potential, there are so much combination you can do, and the more figures you buy from the lineup, excluding the female riders, there is just so much combinations you can make, and I've even seen people make their own custom versions with this as well. So if you guys got any questions or requests, in the comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.